Good morning. This is George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here for Weather Now, Kentucky. We do have an update for you regarding today's significant severe weather. It's going to be quite strong. And also, just want to point out real quickly before we start going all the way into the information and stuff, that it's unlike last night's system where storms didn't really get going for a while. We were kind of waiting around. That won't be the case today. So we want to make sure we're having the highest level of concern and alertness out for today's threat. Me go ahead and give it about a minute before we go into the information. Allow everyone to get in here and get settled on in. Um, of course, as always, if you wouldn't mind, tap the share button at the bottom portion of your screen there. Share this video onto your news feed so that way your friends and family can view it as well. Of course, you can tag them in it, and if you're over there on YouTube, you can copy the link and share it via text message or anything like that. So again, we'll give it about 45 seconds until we go into that information. So if you wouldn't mind, over that 45 seconds, just hit the share button. I can't tell you all enough. You all hear me say it all the time. I can't tell you all enough how important those shares are. It really does help to get the information out there, especially on a day like today where it will be quite significant for some folks. And of course, we have our forecast ready for you guys. We're going to look at the SPC's new forecast. We're going to look at actual model data as well. So we're going to get you covered on multiple bases here. There are a few things changing as we talk, and we'll go over those and kind of point out some different scenarios that might be at play today. Regardless of which scenario comes true, significant severe weather looks probable, not possible, but probable for some folks. And we'll outline those areas. I want to thank everyone for sharing the video. Shares are already up to 54. I appreciate that a lot. It's gotten cooler here in Sonora. Hopefully this will help some. Ricky, unfortunately, it will not. Corey, watch from Litchfield. Thank you for tuning in there. Also, I'm very sorry if I'm trying my best to project my voice as much as possible. We're just gassed. We're just gassed over here. But we're gonna keep going and make sure you guys have all the information that you need. So give me a little bit of patience if you wouldn't mind. There's probably gonna be some more stuttering. Probably gonna be some skipping around of some parts. Just be patient with me. It's been a long, really, it's been a long 48 to 72 hours, but especially the last 24 hours, it's been draining. Katie, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. Aaron, hello. Christy, hello. Again, if you're just now tuning in here, we have not started any informational, so we have not missed a thing. Just kind of let everyone filter on in here because I know everyone's kind of at work and stuff today as well, so I'm going to give it a little bit more time. But by the way, I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now Kentucky. We do have a significant alert day out today. Also being discussed and will be decided over the next 30 to 45 minutes, there might be a potentially dangerous situation alert day issued for today from WNK as well. We'll finish that discussion after this live broadcast with me and the team. But just know that's the kind of alert and that's kind of forecast that we're given for today. It's not to scare anyone. Our job isn't to scare anyone. I don't get paid from you sitting in here. We already have brand deals in place. So I don't get paid from you sitting in here. So my job isn't to scare you, to get you to sit in here. My job is to deliver you the facts. And the facts is that today will be significant for some folks. So that said, let's go and start diving into the information here. Thank you once again for everyone on Facebook that's hitting the like and share button. I appreciate you. Everyone on YouTube that's hitting the subscribe and like button over there as well. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go and dive in here. So first, real quickly, I want to look at the radar. So again, we're going to show you the radar. We're also going to show you new model data that's coming in. We're going to show you a couple different scenarios that might be at play. We're going to show you the SPC's forecast as well as our forecast, which, by the way, our forecast was made at 4 a.m. Eastern time this morning. Regarding today, and it has not changed at all. So right now what we're seeing, let me go ahead and actually click on the southern radar here so we can kind of get a little bit of a better look here, because we want what we're focused on right now. So if you're asking me, George, we got a couple of hours till this really starts to ramp up for us. What are you looking at right now? What I'm looking at right now is the western extent of this line. So we have this line down here in Tennessee, right, and southern Kentucky. And maybe a couple showers up there. I'm not really going to count those, though. But overall, the bulk of the action is right here. That's a problem, okay? What we wanted today, what we were rooting for, is that this line, instead of looking like that in south central Kentucky, northern middle Tennessee, what we were wanting to see to prevent severe weather or prevent the overwhelming severe weather, what we wanted to see is this line extend like this. Okay, that's not the case though, and I'll break down what that means. But just real quickly, what's going to happen is you got these storms over here. They're going to continue to push south and east, mainly pushing east now. They're going to continue to push south and east. And when that happens, an absolute surge of energy is going to creep up on the west side of that and come all the way up. And that warm front is actually going to get all the way up. So let me go ahead and zoom this out real quickly. That warm front is going to get all the way up to Ohio. And so what's going to happen this afternoon and this evening is these storms are going to try and race toward that warm front. They want that warm air. Okay, they want it. They're not quite going to make it there. They're probably going to settle somewhere in here and then down here. But you get a problem. You got storms that are racing this way, and you got the actual best shear racing this way. So put two and two together, you got one going that way and one going this way. And that's where you get a lot of your rotation today. And that's why today is a significant possibility. So that's our current radar here. Of course, we got our forecast to show you in the SBC's forecast, and we're going to continue to show you model data as well. By the way, real quickly, you can follow us on Twitter at WeatherNowKY. A little shout out there for our Twitter side of things. But overall, this is kind of what we mean. So again, this is going to look crazy. I'm going to show you more simple stuff, but it's going to look crazy. But just to show you real quickly, this is the mid-level cape. Okay, this is something we're watching very carefully because this is going to kind of tell us how far north the best energy is being able to spread. Okay. And you can see kind of the shape of this. It's almost like a U. You kind of see the shape of it. It's starting to bulge out in western Kentucky because, once again, those storms and that boundary is over in middle Tennessee and south central Kentucky. So what's going to happen is that surge is going to happen on the western side and try to wrap around and fill in the gaps throughout the next couple of hours. Something else that we're watching very closely are the clouds. So the clouds are going to be absolutely crucial today. I cannot tell you how absolutely crucial that these clouds are going to be. I also want to point out to you real quickly, obviously these gray areas are your sunny spots, okay? These thin kind of gray areas are your high clouds, thin clouds. Where you're really, really concentrated white here are your thicker clouds, okay? You can kind of see the boundary right there, middle Tennessee going up toward western Kentucky, and then the boundary kind of dies right here in western Kentucky. That's where that little bulge of surge of that energy is starting to creep up. And we're going to watch and see how this trends over the next hour. I can't explain to you how crucial, even though it won't be storming, I cannot explain to you how crucial the next hour and a half is on how the sun moves, on how these clouds move, on how that boundary moves, on how that warm front moves. It will allow either more storm juice to be concentrated into western and southern Kentucky, or allow some of that storm juice to come up a little bit higher into Kentucky. Okay? So that's kind of, if you're asking me, George, we got an hour until those, or we got a couple hours till this really starts to kick off. What are you watching for now? I'm watching how those dew points move. I'm watching how those clouds move. I'm watching how the line of storms in Tennessee acts right now and how that moves out of the way, or if it stalls right there. That's kind of what we're looking at right now. That will give us an idea of what to expect later on today. So the SPC's forecast, it has been updated, and the moderate risk has been expanded to now include Bowling Green. I want to point out something real quickly, because this gives us pretty high confidence for today. So this is their forecast that was created at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Okay, so keep it in mind, this was 9 a.m. Eastern time when they created theirs. This is our forecast that was created at 4 a.m. Eastern time. So what I want to point out to you real quickly is look at where we had our 4 out of 5 risk at 4 a.m. Eastern time. Look at where they have their 4 out of 5 risk at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Really phenomenal agreement between us and the NWS, almost 5 hours apart. Okay, the red out of 5 or 3 out of 5 stretches from basically just south of Louisville, just to the north of Danville, going over toward eastern Kentucky, and then include everyone in between that 4 out of 5 and 2 out of 5 zone. If you look at their 3 out of 5 zone, it's almost the same exact thing. So a really great agreement here between us and the National Weather Service, and we made our forecast almost 5 hours before they made theirs. And so we really have great confidence for today that we're on the right track. Okay, so that's our forecast and the SPC's forecast. Let's go ahead and take a look at the actual model data itself. So let's go ahead and pull up. We have a brand new run coming in. I have not seen what this run looks like, and quite honestly, it's only 4 hours in, so we're going to go back to an older run here. Okay, now I want to tell you this, something that we found out. Okay, a lot of what we're doing right now as well is comparing what the model data said versus what's actually happening. What I want to point out to you real quickly before we go into the actual reflectivity and look at that is I want to point out to you is that back on the 12Z run here, or no, I think it was the 13Z run. Yeah. So back on this run here, so these are the mid-level cape. This is what we just talked about, okay? This is what's showing up right here. What I want to point out to you is look at this last, thick red bar here, All right, that's 500. 500 joules of K. That's well into Western Kentucky, South Central Kentucky, and even over towards Southeastern Kentucky. Okay, so this is right now. This is current. That's a pretty nice, solid amount. I wouldn't say that's anything abundant, but it will continue to go up. There's already almost 2,000 knocking on the door of Western Kentucky. Look at where the model data had this projected. Now, remember, this is a run that came in 2 hours ago. Okay, look at where the model data projected that line of 500 to be, all the way down here in Western Kentucky. So that tells us that the model data is actually underplaying how much energy there actually already is on the northern side of this line. So it's something that we've been watching. Okay, so that tells us that right now our environment is overperforming what was projected. All right, so as it pushes on forward, let's go ahead and actually zoom this into the local view here, kind of give you an overall look. Now, again, don't take the location of each cell verbatim. Just kind of look at the overall general view, okay? So as it pushes forward to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, this is valid for right now. It's actually showing a couple of cells out there toward Western Kentucky. When we go out here and we actually open up the radar, and we go to look over here in Western Kentucky, well, we don't see a thing. So it tells us that there's a little more clearing happening right now as well compared to what the model data indicated, which is not a good sign. So as it pushes forward to noon, you see some of that clearing still occurring, maybe a few rain showers starting to spark out there from Bowling Green to Paducah, a few rain showers exiting the area out toward eastern Tennessee and eastern Kentucky. As we push forward to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, you can see now we're starting to get going here. A spawn of cells over Clarksville. Once again, don't take the location of these cells absolutely 100% verbatim. It could be somewhere near Clarksville, but just know somewhere around that vicinity is where things start to spark off. And as we push forward to 2 p.m. Eastern Time, now the line is going to start connecting itself. What's happening here, and I'll go ahead and pull this out for the regional view, just to give you kind of a quick look here. Here's the low pressure all the way up here in Missouri. And here's the warm front all the way down here in Tennessee. What that low pressure wants to do is it wants to try and attach to that warm front. And that's where we're getting a lot of this absolutely significant storms to try, because they're trying to connect. They're going to connect. They're going to phase together. Okay. So watch how this happens. We have the warm front over here in Tennessee. We have the low pressure over here in Missouri. And they just connect. And you just get this massive just wall of, I mean, look how messy that looks. I mean, just massive wall of storms. Okay, so go back into local view here. Pushes over to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. They start to connect. Really heavy hail starting to go on from southwestern Kentucky and south central Kentucky. That line will actually lift north before it moves southeast. So we're going to have the storm is actually going to shape like this, okay? And the storm is actually going to lift north. It's going to be actually pretty magnificent to watch on radar. And then the storm will start to move southeast. Pretty wild stuff going on here. So is this going to push forward to 3 p.m. Eastern Time? You can see a massive hail core starting to show up in southwestern Kentucky and north middle Tennessee. And then as we push forward to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, watch how it's lifting, right? You have that massive hail core tracking through the Murray area, somewhere near there anyway. And then as we push forward to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, it's full-on hail cores, basically from Knoxville, Tennessee, all the way up toward Henderson, Kentucky, and everywhere in between there. And then just hours and hours of large to very large hail, as well as perhaps 70 to 80 mile per hour winds, and cannot rule out a few tornadoes as well. And then we'll get actually a little bit of a break between 7 to 9 p.m. It'll just be kind of a lot of rain showers. And then we have an MCS moving through, mesocyclone system. And it just produces even more hail and more tornado chances. And this one might have a significant wind burst with it when it knocks on the door of anywhere between Owensboro to Paducah, Kentucky, and create that line and shoves east. And then a third potential line around midnight to 1 a.m. Eastern Time pushes through Paducah and once again throws down significant hail. So when you ask me about, George, why is there such a large time frame today? And why can you not give me any more specific time frame? Well, because genuinely, it can go from 1 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And in fact, it can go even farther than that. Here's a threat type map that we put out back at 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Very large hail, high damaging winds, and tornadoes are all possible. Pink zone features the highest likelihood, followed by red zone, so on. It should have been and so on. Flash flooding will become a concern by midday. So here's how you read these in case you didn't know. Here's how you read our little threat box here. So the black is for everyone. We need to put like a little key or something down here. The black is for everyone, and the red is for your specific color. So, for example, on the hail threat chart here, the black is a 2 out of 5 risk for everyone in the state. And then that red is going to be a 3 out of 5 risk for everyone in red and pink. And that pink is going to be a 4 out of 5 risk for the pink area, so on and so forth. That's kind of how our threat box works there. And I need to make a key for that. But overall, that's kind of how that looks. Real quickly, I forgot to touch base on this. So not only do they have a 4 out of 5 risk for portions of Kentucky, there is a 10% probability of a significant tornado, meaning EF2 or greater, in that hatched zone. So pretty much everywhere in central to western Kentucky. And there's also a phenomenal risk of at least 55% of some hail occurring out in western Kentucky with a 10% probability of significant, oh, this is wind, I'm sorry, 10% probability of significant wind gusts, which is greater than 74 mile per hour. Here's your hail map that I was alluding to just now. Just an absolute massive threat of large to very large hail. We're talking, guys, we're talking numerous storms that can train over the same areas that can produce up to tennis ball, maybe perhaps even baseball sized hail. It's going to be an absolute rocking day of hail. So if you have a vehicle that's outside, make sure, especially if you're in this red zone, even in the orange zone as well, but especially if you're in the red zone, get that vehicle covered in some sort of way. I don't care if you put, some old blankets that you have inside. Get that vehicle covered, because when you start getting hail that's over golf ball size, right, and you're starting to approach tennis ball and baseball sized hail, that can cause several extreme damages, and it can even cause injuries, and we've even seen deaths before by hail. So make sure that you are. I mean, even if you're not scared of hail, or because usually here in Kentucky we don't get very large hail very often. So not a lot of people realize that sometimes these hailstorms can be a lot more damaging than tornadic activity, widespread wise anyway. So make sure you're treating the hail threat as, likely for me, my eyes, as the number one priority today. Tornado threat would be number 2 priority, and significant wind bursts would be number 3 priority. An absolute abundance of lightning as well, once again. So overall, a significant alert day out for today, basically anywhere from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern time at the minimum. There'll be several waves of storms that push through. So even if you get one wave to push through, don't come to me and ask me, George, am I clear? No, you have several waves of storms to push through today. So genuinely, everyone is in that window from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern time. Even the spots of the state that aren't really included in the highest risk, you're still at a 2 out of 5 risk. So genuinely, everyone in the state today needs to be on high alert. I do think the best chances for damaging weather is absolutely that 4 out of 5 zone. They nailed it. Bowling Green and Madisonville to Paducah. That's where we thinking that the highest zones are. And then, of course, some of those dangerous conditions can stretch all the way up to Owensboro. I feel like they could have put the moderate risk up in Owensboro as well for that last round. But you kind of just splitting hairs at this point. To me, guys, the colors don't really matter. It's the overall threat that matters. The overall threat is an absolutely damaging day going to be ongoing from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern time. You're going to ask me, George, can this bust a little bit like last night? Last night, let's call it what it is. It was a bust, okay? It happens. So can this one bust like last night? I can emphatically tell you that it will not bust. Emphatically. I would put everything on it. Okay, so that's the confidence that we have in the system. And only that confidence is only continuing to grow. I mean, I can check these clouds with you while we're here, and the clouds are continuing to stay out of the way. That warm front is going to be able to just shoot far north there. So, genuinely, guys, just kind of stay on alert today. We'll be live with you guys. We'll probably start up a broadcast at 1 p.m. Eastern time and just cover it, ongoing with you all. There'll be several updates on our Twitter and on our YouTube. I believe Cherie and Mike are taking care of the Twitter. So if you haven't already, go follow at Weather Now KY. This is genuinely the fastest way we can get you guys updates. Genuinely. Facebook takes a little bit. YouTube takes a little bit. Twitter is almost immediately. So if you want those fast, absolutely as fast as you can, at Weather Now KY over there on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. That's the fastest spot to do that. So that's our forecast. That's the SPC's forecast. That's the actual model data. That's kind of what we're looking at right now. Remember, what we're watching right now is that line of storms and how it acts down there in Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky. And we're also watching how the clouds interact with those storms and the warm front if that energy is going to be allowed to come further north. Jason on YouTube says, sir, it looks like a lot of cloud cover over central Kentucky, thinking that cuts down on thunderstorm growth. Jason, I don't think so, because the low pressure connecting with the warm front later on is not going to care about the clouds. Now, it will help it to limit it a little bit, but overall thunderstorm, or limit, let me rephrase that, it will help to limit the severe index a little bit, if you will, but it won't help to stop storms from going. All right. Caitlin, thank you for your 10 stars. I appreciate that. Brayden with the 99 stars, thank you so much. Said those 5 minutes ago. He says, what happens when the storms settle around Madisonville area as a race for the warmer air north? They will just be turning. They will just be turning. I cannot tell you how much rotation is going to be with these storms today. Now, rotation doesn't always indicate tornadic activity. It can indicate very large hail. It can indicate massive wind burst. It can indicate, tornadic activity, of course. But there's going to be a ton rotation with this. Timing for everyone today is 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern time. I'm not going to give different timings for different spots because genuinely, you guys saw firsthand there on the model data how many waves are coming through. Generally and genuinely, 1 to 11 p.m. Eastern time. How often does the SBC update their maps? You can, when you go to like, let me show you real quick. So when you go to like their page here, or you go to the Mesoskeletal discussion, you click on it, right? And at the bottom, let me go to the full display so it can show you. At the bottom, a lot of yapping and mumbo jumbo right there. At the bottom, it'll tell you when it's going to update next. They usually do it, I think, 3 times a day, 4 times maybe, I can't remember. But it would tell you. So 1511Z is the current time. It's telling you that the next update will come out by 1630Z. So that would be 1230. 1230 Eastern time, I should say. Let me make sure I'm clear on that. But that's how that's looking. That's a good bet, Holly. I do think a lot of the schools, especially if you're in that 4 to 5 zone, should be taking an early day. Especially if you're in that 4 out of 5 zone. And if you have a kid that's going to school in that 4 out of 5 zone, I would get them out by noon or 1 p.m. Aaron, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Shout out Right Implement. Any watches coming soon? I don't make the watches, so I don't know, but I would assume I would probably put it at about 99% chance that a watch comes for at least the 4 out of 5 zone, most likely the 3 out of 5 zone. I don't know if it'll be a tornado watch or a severe thunderstorm watch, but regardless of the watches today, the threats for even large to very large hail is going to be overwhelming enough. Good to hear, Aaron and Julie. Kara asked, do I personally think we will have a big tornado outbreak? So in my eyes, I don't think there will be a big tornado outbreak today. Do I think there will be a few strong tornadoes? Yes. But tornado outbreak, no. I think today's threat is absolutely priority number 1 going to be the very large hail. Mainly because when you get a tornado to come through, right, it only affects that path, really. You get a massive hail core to come through, it's affecting a much wider path. And when you're talking about baseball, tennis ball sized hail just pummeling down and winds are going 60 to 70 mile per hour, guys, it's an absolute mess. It really is. Because at that point, you're having, instead of the hail core just falling, right? Instead of the hail core just falling down on the ground like raindrops, yay. It's coming down 60, 70 mile per hour winds. That hail core is now being thrown in the side of, sides of houses. And that's not to scare anyone. That's just the truth of how it works. So, in my eyes, the number 1 threat is going to be the very large hail. The number 2 threat is going to be the tornadic activity that does occur. I don't think we're expecting an outbreak, but there could be a couple of strong tornadoes today. The number 3 threat is going to be the straight line wind damages, and we could see a couple of wind bursts of up to 75 to 80 mile per hour. So that's kind of my. If you ask me what my concerns are, that would be my 3 and how they're ordered. Let's see here. Thank you for all those updates over on YouTube. I'm watching your comments. So Pat Jefferson on YouTube says, found you recently. So glad to find someone who focuses on Kentucky. Been here for 3 years. Moved from a place that seldom ever has weather and 0 tornadoes. I need you. Thank you, Kat, very much. I appreciate your trust. Thank you for keeping us updated. I appreciate you and the team. Stephanie, I appreciate you. Yeah, we've been poached a little bit to either sell our business or move to a more national view on things. We're not going nowhere. I love this state. So weird how the NWS has me in a slight slash enhanced, but this is much higher. I'm assuming you're somewhere up here on the northeastern side. Honestly, if you look at our forecast versus the SBC's forecast, so Study this forecast for about 10 seconds. 4 out of 5 goes to Bowling Green and Madisonville, to include Paducah and Hopkinsville. And then above that, in Owensboro, Litchfield, Eatown, Campbellsville, Danville, Somerset, Harlan, 3 out of 5. 2 out of 5 for Lexington, Moorhead, and Pikeville, right? So look at this forecast, and then, hey, we're going to go over here to the, what did I do with it? Here it is. This is their forecast. So I'm not really sure what you're seeing, but I don't think the National Weather Service and WNKE has ever been closer on a forecast. I genuinely don't. So this is the forecast that we made back all the way at 4 a.m. Eastern time. This is the forecast that we made then. This is their forecast that they made at 9 a.m. Eastern time. And I don't think it gets much closer than that. I genuinely don't. Here. Let me do this for you. Now find my, there we go. Try to give you a little better angle to compare here. That's their forecast. This is our forecast. I genuinely don't think it gets a whole lot closer than that. Now, the only thing that we disagree on is the very far northeastern portion of Kentucky. I don't see a world where significant severe weather makes it all the way up there. I just don't. Now, will storms occur up there? Yes, storms will occur up there in northeastern Kentucky. When you're talking about significant severe weather, I don't see a world unless something crazy happens and the showers that we see now go away completely fast and that warm front comes all the way up and I don't think that happens. So I don't think that's the only spot where we disagree on. Other than that, it's almost phenomenal agreement. Thank you, Chelsea. I appreciate that. Yeah, timing is 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. I'm right across from Louisville, Kentucky. So you're probably on the Indiana side. I mean, that's still pretty good agreement even up there. 2 out of 5 risk starts at Louisville on our map. 2 out of 5 risk starts at Louisville on their map. 2 out of 5 risk starts a county below Lexington on our map. 2 out of 5 risk starts a county below Lexington on their map. So I'm still not really sure what you're referring to. Schools are made really safely, I will say. I've been looking into that. Schools are made really safely, the buildings themselves. We're talking about, thousands of kids and teachers are trying to run through a hallway to get to a tornado spot. The chaos, right? The chaos is what I would avoid. The tornado risk in Bloomfield, Kentucky is probably at about a 7%, in my opinion, Caitlin. Okay. I think that's going to end us there. What are we at? 28 minutes? Under 30 minutes. Let's go. Let's go. That's a win for today. I will be back probably at about 1 p.m. Eastern time unless something drastically changes. And then I'll do a broadcast before that to brief you guys. But right now I'm going to go look at the new data that's coming in and make a post on our Twitter and Facebook. So make sure you're looking out for that post probably here in about 30 minutes on Twitter and Facebook. So that way you guys can read it as well as, compare to what we mentioned. The last question I'm going to take here is Gabby on YouTube says, flood risk today. There is a flash flood risk, especially for that purple and red zone. Also, Matthew, we don't cover the St. Louis areas, my friend. Jenna, thank you for your 20 stars. Do you think the 4 out of 5 zone will extend more north? Can it? Yes. Will it? Probably not. I think they can just kind of roll with their forecast now. It's too close. Thank you, by the way, to everyone for all of your star donations and all your shares over there on Facebook, all the likes on YouTube and on Facebook as well. Welcome to all the subscribers and new followers. Again, I'll have a post on our Twitter and our Facebook here in the next 20 to 30 minutes updating you on if anything changes. Until the next broadcast, I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with WNK. Stay safe, Kentucky.